From the time we're old enough to hold a piggy bank, we are taught a simple, unquestioned rule for financial security. Save your money. Put it away, don't touch it, and eventually you will be safe. That is exactly how Miguel lived. He was a farmer who sacrificed his own comfort to hoard cash. He wore shoes with holes and fed his family smaller meals, all so he could drop a few more coins into a glass jar hidden under his bed every week. But a strange thing happened. As the months passed, his jar became half full, yet his family was still hungry. The roof still leaked. His savings were growing, but his actual life was getting harder. Miguel didn't realize he was fighting a quiet, invisible math problem. Every month, the price of corn, rice, and beans crept up. The stagnant coins in his jar could buy less and less. Hoarding cash inside a jar feels like progress, but because of inflation, treating savings as the finish line doesn't create wealth. It creates a very slow, quiet path to poverty as the money loses its purchasing power while it sits. After another grueling, low-yield harvest, Miguel sat by his barren field. He was completely demoralized. He was doing everything by the book, working early, sleeping late, saving every penny, and he was still losing. An older, wise-looking traveler walking past the village stopped. He noticed Miguel carefully counting the coins from his jar, trying to figure out if he had enough for a trip to the market. The stranger watched him for a moment and said something that broke all the rules Miguel had ever known. Saving your money is exactly what is keeping you poor. Miguel was angry. He didn't waste a single cent. He worked until his back hurt. How could holding on to his hard-earned money possibly be a mistake? The old man pointed out the trap. A safety jar gives you a comforting illusion of security. You can see the coins, you can count them, and you feel safe. But that feeling distracts you from the reality that your money is slowly bleeding its value. The stranger asked Miguel a simple question: how long will that money last at the market? The answer was maybe a few sacks of rice, and then it would be gone. A whole year of painful saving instantly erased, forcing him to start over from zero. Then the old man reached into his pocket and pulled out a small pouch of lentil seeds. Miguel's jar is dead money, capital that sleeps in a glass cage, earns nothing, and shrinks against rising costs. But those seeds represent living money, capital put to work, deployed into the world to multiply and generate real returns. The stranger told Miguel to stop hiding his cash. Instead, take those saved coins, buy seeds, plant them in the dirt, and let the soil turn one investment into an ongoing harvest. Cash is not a trophy to collect, it is a tool. And its power is completely locked away until you treat it for assets that can actually produce new value. The idea terrified Miguel. Planting seeds meant taking the very last of his safety net and burying it in the dirt. If the crop failed, he would lose everything. His wife, Rosa, provided a crucial perspective. Their current, safe strategy guaranteed they would stay hungry. Staying comfortable in their routine was actually a guaranteed failure. Doing nothing was the real risk. So Miguel took his entire life savings to the market. Ignoring the whispers of neighbors who called him crazy, he spent every single coin on lentil seeds. Then came the hardest part, waiting. For days, Miguel stared at a barren, quiet field. He lost sleep, pacing at night, wondering if he made a fatal mistake by letting go of his safe money. Trading the certainty of a full jar for the uncertainty of a buried seed is a difficult transition. It requires you to sit with the vulnerability of having spent your safety net before you can see the first sign of a return. Then, one morning, tiny green shoots broke through the soil. The living money was finally starting to work. By harvest time, Miguel's empty plot had transformed into a thick green blanket. He and Rosa filled basket after basket with healthy lentils. He hauled the massive crop to the market, and within a few hours, the entire harvest sold out. Now look at the math. By putting his money into an asset that could grow, he generated 5 times the wealth in 4 months than he had managed to save over a grueling year of hoarding. The numbers are undeniable. A calculated, strategic risk heavily out-earned stagnant capital. Miguel didn't take his new profits and stuff them all back into a jar. He held back enough to feed his family and immediately used the rest to buy more seeds for the next season. You might not be a farmer, but the logic Miguel followed applies to any dollar you own today. Your seeds look different. They might be taking a portion of your savings to learn a high-income skill, buying equipment to launch a side business, or even investing your cash into the stock market. Keeping cash for an emergency is a vital first step, but because prices never stop rising, simply holding that cash won't move you forward. To finally outpace the constantly rising cost of living, you eventually have to put your money to work. Take a hard look at your own finances today. Is your money sleeping in a jar, or is it out in the world working for you? Let me know in the comments what your first step will be to put your capital to work.